Hello viewers, so this is the front portal install. You may have seen the rear portal install. The front's a little bit harder because it turns out the front has steering and brakes on the wheels. So I'll walk you through this side first. This side's complete and has the tire on. So first thing to note is that the axle hangs out of the portal box a lot. It looks kind of like a Can-Am. And the reason I don't like that is because it means you get less engagement on the axle nut. It means the portal had to be spaced out farther and makes the bike wider. It also is not great for the axle, but because of the reduction and everything, the axle's fine. I wish they would make me a machined top gear that would let the axle fit flush into the portal box. You could make it slide over this way some. You get better engagement, be better all the way around. Problem is they're trying to make these too universal, like Subaru TV always does, because, you know, it's mass products for mass fuckboys. But anyways, so that's what happens there. Not a big fan of that at all. This lower ball joint went in a little too easy. I put new steel ball joints. Obviously I had them in the freezer, but still they installed a little too easy, so I'm kind of worried that this bore is a little too big. Whatever. Probably be fine because the Honda has no horsepower. The tie rod end holes, not a very precise fit. The hole was a little wallered out. I'm probably gonna have to end up taking it out and putting a washer on top of it and torquing it down really good. I suspect that's gonna loosen up easy, partially because of the extra stress of the portal box and partially because it's not really supposed to be a press fit in the factory knuckle, but it is a tight fit. And that's not tight anymore. But they did get the geometry right as far as the spacing from here to here, from here to here. You can see that it steers fine. If it was jumping up and down, you'd know the axle was in a bind kind of deal. So another thing, these portals, I was told they're the 30% portal boxes, which is correct. The Super ATV calls them a 30% because Super ATV can't do math. It's a 41%. So now we're going to calculate the ratio and show you how to do that. It's pretty simple. I need my assistant to help turn the tire. All right, assistant is en route. Also, look at this yellow Rubicon over here. Pretty premium. Get a little gear reduction action later on tonight. Okay, so we got a green line here, and we got a green line here. So Giovanni, you count the rotations of the axle. Oh, you gotta unlock the diff. We gotta put it in two-wheel drive. It's two-wheel drive, okay. So you count rotations of the axle, and I'll count rotations here. So go ahead. Okay, so we've been rotating for a while. That was 10 rotations of the axle to 7 rotations of the flywheel. Input over output, 10 divided by 7, that's like 1.42, pretty close to 1.41, which is what I've calculated when I counted the teeth. So input over output gives you your ratio. So the ratio is 1.41 to 1. Honda guys, based on how we do gear reductions inside Honda transmissions, call that a 41% reduction. Now 41% is a lot, and especially because it's at the wheel, you don't really need an internal reduction unless you're going to run like a 35 or bigger. This would probably turn 33s, not probably, would turn most 33s 100% fine. So I've got a 35% in there, probably going to go to 15% eventually. But yeah, so there's that. Other feedback I have on these portals, they're just really overkill for an ATV. Obviously this nut's huge, etc. I did do a brake delete because I don't have the Pioneer 700 calipers yet. So to delete the brakes, I just took off the line and I essentially, let me fish out here for you, essentially capped it with a bolt and nut. Put the banjos on there, put a bolt and nut to keep the mud and stuff out of there and keep it a sealed system for when I eventually get tired of my bike being this heavy, wide, and tall and want to go back to a reasonable practical setup. So it's only going to have rear brakes for now, but it's a rear pinion brake that gets a gear reduction in the diff, then gets a gear reduction in the portal, so it's going to have plenty of braking. It's also going to be really slow. So what we're going to do now is we're going to throw this last wheel on, finish the last brake delete, and we'll give you a walk around the bike as it is now. I expect these tires are going to rub. It's going to need more floorboard mods. Because the front makes it so wide, partially because the way the axle hangs out as previously discussed, when you turn the wheel, the tire swings really wide. So you can see that's only a 33, and it's going to get pretty close to the frame once I set it down. So 33s will probably be fine. 35s are going to require some floorboard mods, and 38s are going to require some serious cutting and stuff. It looks pretty square right now as far as width front to back, but again, it's jacked up. So once I set it down and it squats, the front's going to be wider than the back. I think with this portal bracket setup, you probably need to run a 1/2-inch wheel spacer on both rear wheels to get it sitting about square, or you could just crank up your front preload a lot. Probably gonna have to do that anyways because of leverage. You know, the wheel used to be here, now it's here. It has more leverage against the shocks. The shocks that work harder to hold up the bike. so we're going to have to crank up the preload. But good thing we have Elka Stage 5, fully adjustable, remote reservoir shocks. All right, folks, well, there you have it. Front suspension is stock, except for Elka's, which are at stock height. Rear suspension is probably set at 1 1/4 inches of lift, maybe 1 1/2, with those arms I got on there. Try to turn the flash on for you. There we go. Didn't really do anything. Yeah, it's pretty big. The steering feels kind of funny. Definitely had to do an alignment on it. It was really far off. The tires do rub a little bit at full lock, which is expected. I need to modify my arms a little bit. So you see there's some space between the bracket and the fender. I'm going to cut it, move it back. It won't rub at all, at least on 33s. It does make the 33s look kind of tall, but that's probably the perfect setup, is honestly 33s with 4-inch portals and no gear reduction in the motor. The portals tuck into the wheel very well because I got very negative offset wheels. However, the front portals are a little wider than the rear. You can kind of see right there how much tire sticks out. It's not too bad though. Once you hit the gas, the back squat sum ends up being about the same width. Show you from this angle. Pretty square. So I was a little worried the front was going to be way wide, and it's not. So that's a good sign. That's just all you're going to get in this video is a walk around. We're going to go test it out, but you have to wait for that video and so do some editing. So this is a little bit of a tease. It feels like it'll pull the front tires off the ground though because it's so high now. Again, reminder, I do have like a 2-inch rear stretch with these custom arms, which is why it looks decent. If it didn't have the stretch, it would look stupid. It would also tip backwards all the time. It's probably gonna do that anyways. So far I do like it better than the Catvos lift. It was honestly just about as much work to install, about the same price, but it's not gonna break axles, rear diffs, or anything else. Charlie, what the hell are you doing over here, boy?
Taking some thermite.
Some iron oxide and some aluminum powder action?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.